This DVD has been produced as a simple introduction to modern witchcraft, aimed mainly at teenagers who are drawn to this magical path. But hopefully, this DVD will be of help to all ages seeking a magical lifestyle. I have tried to keep the information within this film simple and easy to follow. Witchcraft is such a vast subject that it is impossible to cover all aspects in so short a time. So I've simply chosen to illustrate the questions that I get asked time after time by those wishing to start out on their path. Hopefully, along the way, I can dispel some of the myths that still surround witchcraft that have come out of the medieval witch hunts of old and are kept alive in modern horror films and fiction. Equally important is to dispel the modern myths of the popular TV series like Buffy and Charmed that, whilst fun escapism, portray the craft as a glamorous, adventurous, magical life of casting spells and fighting demons. Witchcraft today is a way of life, something we do and live, taking into consideration our actions and how those actions affect others and our environment. It is a life of study, of learning all we can about ourselves, both good and bad, about learning of other faiths and beliefs, about listening to people and helping them where appropriate, and about respecting those we love. Whilst magical traditions have been practiced since the dawn of time, witchcraft as we know it today is a relatively modern practice. Like a lot of religions, there are different branches of witchcraft and different traditions, although each have a common truth and belief system. My own witchcraft tradition, and the one that I'm trying to set out in this DVD, is that of eclectic witchcraft. Eclectic witchcraft takes from many different branches of magical traditions and brings it together in a very informative and natural way. Glastonbury, the sacred Isle of Avalon. For centuries, a place of mystery and magic, its beautiful landscape wrapped in the mists of the Somerset Levels. Glastonbury has long been associated with myths, legends and magic, all weaving together to give this place a sense of awe and mystery. This is the ancient lands of the Druids and of King Arthur and Merlin. Dominating this small market town is Glastonbury Tor, focal point for many of the magical traditions that spring from this place. The Tor is said to be a hollow hill that leads to the realm of Fairy, where resides the Fairy King or the Lord of the Underworld, Gwyn ap Nuth. Ley lines, lines of mystical earth energy, crisscross the Tor and link it to other important and ancient magical sites. For example, Stonehenge and Avebury Circle. It is said that these 3 points, Avebury, Stonehenge and Glastonbury Tor, form a world energy point, and perhaps it is because of this that man has been coming to Glastonbury since ancient times to partake of and be part of its magical energies. People still travel to this beautiful part of the West Country searching for spiritual enlightenment, and this landscape is still held as sacred by many. Folk come here from all walks of life looking for spirituality in its many and diverse forms. Glastonbury caters for all with its myriad sacred places, each meaning different things to different people, but all offering a sense of magic and of connecting with the earth energies and nature. Glastonbury High Street is famous for its many shops catering for all spiritual needs. Here there is an abundance of shops selling crystals, sacred jewellery, esoteric books, arts and crafts, but none more popular than the witchcraft shops. These shops have sprung up in answer to the needs of an ever-increasing pagan population in the UK and indeed all over the world. As Glastonbury continues to be held as a spiritual centre of the world, so people of a magical nature flock to it as a place where they can be with like-minded people, comfortable in their openness as perhaps they cannot be elsewhere. The local shops are there to assist people on their magical path, many offering advice as well as being an outlet for magical paraphernalia, often unobtainable elsewhere. Modern witchcraft owes thanks to two main influential people of the 20th century, namely Gerald Gardner, from where we get Gardnerian witchcraft, and Alex Saunders, who started the Alexandrian tradition of witchcraft. Many of today's traditions have sprung from both Gardnerian and Alexandrian witchcraft, including my own particular eclectic witchcraft that I practice today.
Hello.
Morning. If you need any help, just ask.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of joining the craft, and I guess I have a basic idea of what I need,
Okay.
but I don't know if you think I can be recommended any items.
What have you got so
specifically.
far? Have you got anything at the moment?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, well, you're in the right place then. I would recommend that you start with your 4 basic tools, and then then you can add to it from there on. For instance, I would say one of the main pieces would be your pentagram plate. That's what you use as a focus on your altar to bless other tools and to do a lot of your magical working on. Pentacle plate represents the element of earth, so each one will have its own elemental recommendation, okay?
Yeah.
So that's your pentagram plate. The next tool I would recommend would be the wand. The wand is a very, very beautiful tool. It has very gentle energy, and the energy with the wand is inviting, very much so. So when you're working with other energies with your wand, you're inviting that energy in. It's a wonderful tool for spellcrafting because you're putting some very gentle energy into it. It is associated with the direction of south and with the energy of fire, the wand. After the wand, I would recommend the chalice. The chalice is again identified with the western quarter of your circle and with water, emotions, very, very feminine. The chalice itself represents the feminine divine upon your altar. And it is used for putting the wine or juice that you're going to be using for the circle working and the consecration of that. After the chalice, and one of the most important pieces, is your magical knife or your athame. Now, your magical knife is the male to the chalice's female. It is associated with east element and the element of air. It's a much harsher energy than the wand itself. It's very demanding. So when you're working with energies with your athame, you are demanding and you are holding. So it's a stronger energy and a stronger tool to work with. And therefore, it needs a certain element of caution. But it's also the most protective. Because although your athame doesn't cut on the physical level, it only cuts in the spiritual level, it will keep you protected from forms and energies that could be slightly negative. So it's your protective piece.
Are these tools 101%, absolutely necessary for me?
Well, it's 50-50. I think when you're beginning, when you're walking your path for the first time, these tools act as a focus. Okay. As you move on through your craft, through the years, you begin to realise that the tools, whilst they're lovely to have and they help you focus, they help you bring up the energy within yourself. What is most important in any magical path, particularly witchcraft, is your intent. Okay. If your intent is pure and your intent is absolutely certain, then the magical tools are just a focus for that intention. Eventually, as you learn, you can use your hands. You can use your finger for wand and athame, you can use your hand for the chalice. There are various things that you can do, but it's your focus and intent that's important. Okay. These things, as of themselves, are just symbols that help us to focus our minds, preparing us for ritual.
Okay, and how do I go about choosing each of these, what feels really right for me?
That's an excellent question. I would suggest that you walk around the shop picking up 2 or 3 pieces of items and seeing which one you're drawn to. Each piece will have its own energy. And I often say to people that the magical tool will choose you. You don't particularly choose the tool. You may have an idea of what you want. You may want your knife to look this way and be that size, but actually 9 times out of 10 you could walk out of the shop and have something completely different. It's what feels right. It's using your energy feeling the energy of the particular piece that you're holding and that connection, and you'll know it. Okay, this is a selection of wands that we've got. As you can see, they're fairly simple. You can have them as simple as you want or as ornate as you want. Many people like crystals in their wands. Personally, I like to keep mine as plain as possible. Wands like this, with the crystal in the end, the crystal is used to magnify the energy of the wand, and indeed your own energy as it flows through the wand. So it becomes the pinpoint of where the energy comes from, okay? Simple wands, like this, are very, very beautiful. Each wand comes in different woods. This wood is ash, and each tree will have a different magical energy. What I suggest is that you look at the various wands, see what you're pulled to, and then we'll look at which one you've chosen, and if it's one that I know the wood from, I can let you know why you've chosen that and what that particular wood is good for.
Okay.
But each wand will vibrate at a different magical energy depending on the tree it comes from. So now you've had a look at most of the wands, is there any one that you feel particularly drawn to?
I really, really, really like this one actually.
It's really lovely.
And
the wood for this is hazel, and that's a very, very traditional wood for witches to use. Hazel is wisdom and inspiration, all the things that you want to put into your magic. This is one of our pentagrams. It's made from slate and wood. I would suggest that any magical tool that you buy is made up of something that is very, very natural, so the material should be natural, of your surroundings. So this is slate from Wales and wood. Likewise, you've got this type here, which is made from lead and silvered lead. So it's based on a very, very old idea for the pentagram. Either one of these is fine, and again, it's what you're drawn to.
Yeah, I really like the mix of wood and slate.
It's a really nice one, that one. It's been hand carved as well, so again, the energy of the person who's made it has helped to infuse the actual finished piece. So we've looked at pentagrams, we've looked at wands. Let's look at the most important magical tool. Okay, that's your athame, your magical knife. Remember, I said that it's a very commanding tool. Traditionally, there are several different thoughts on your athame. Some people say your athame should be sharp, and some people should say that it shouldn't have an edge at all. Again, it's what you're drawn to. And we've got them here behind you in the cabinet. We've got a nice selection here. Some are very traditional and some are quite different. So again, what I would say to you is to pick up one or two and just see what you're drawn to and have a look. Copper is wonderful because it's a great conductor of energies.
Yeah, this is the one I felt really, really, really drawn to.
This is a really nice one. It's made locally, and the wood itself is a piece of hawthorn. Hawthorn is a really nice tree for you to be working with, especially when you're beginning your path. It's very fey, very fairy energy, very healing, and it deals with emotions. It often grows near wells and waters, and it's a wishing tree. So it's a really nice energy, and the blade here is in silver. So again, you've got the purity. So for a first working piece, that's an excellent choice. Here's a selection of chalices. It's important to pick the right one, as with any magical tool. It's a tool that you share with other people when you're working magically. As said before, it represents water, and its direction is the west. So it's all about emotion and femininity. There are different ones here. These are rather lovely. These are glass.
Wow.
And then we have very, very simple pottery ones, which I think are really, really nice. Here we've got silvered ones. These are very popular. This is an unusual piece. It's a drinking horn. Quite a lot of witches like drinking horns. It keeps the mead or the wine very, very cool inside, and plenty to share. This chalice I can recommend. It's really plain, really simple, no frills, but it's absolutely ideal for a beginner.
I feel really, really drawn to this one actually. It's lovely.
Lovely energy, and again, it's made by somebody who is within the craft themselves, and the energy that they've put into it is paramount as well. Yasmin asked a lot of the right questions when she came into the shop and showed a lot of enthusiasm. After a few more meetings, I decided to take her on as a student and help guide her first footsteps along her magical path. Okay, Yasmin, we're here in your bedroom, and what I'm going to show you now is how to set up an altar, a nice little space for you to be able to work. It's important that you're safe where you're working, so whilst outdoors is always great because we're a nature-based religion, whilst you're working by yourself, it's much safer to be indoors in your bedroom. I'm going to start first of all to explain why it is we're both in robes. It's always a good idea to put something special on before you start working ritual. What it does on a magical level is that it takes you from the mundane, everyday, real world that we live in on a day-to-day basis and separates you and makes you step into your magical persona. So the gown is something that you will wear each time for ritual. You will only wear it for ritual, and when it's not in use, it will be put aside and looked after and treated with respect. Your gown, your robe, is yet another magical focus. Along with your robes, you're wearing this magical cord. Again, this is not everybody's tradition, but it's something I like to work with. It's 3 pieces of cord in colours that you are attracted to. My magical working name is Willow, so I've chosen colours that are really reminiscent of the willow tree. And the idea with this is that you're making a witch's girdle. As you're weaving the plait, each time you plait, you are weaving a magical intent, a wish, all positive stuff, protective things, so that when you wear it, what you're wearing is a belt of protection that you've put your energy into. And of course it makes an ideal thing to hang off your athame. You've got a really good setup here already, Yasmin. You're lucky because you've got quite a bit of space here. For people that don't have such a nice space, it doesn't matter how big your altar space is. It doesn't matter what you build your altar on. It can be as simple as a stool with a cloth over it, just a space on your floor, a shelf like we have here. It could be absolutely anything. The thing in and of itself isn't sacred. It's how you use it and what you put on it that actually makes it a special place. So here you've got a wonderful box here with a cloth over the top. That's ideal to do a lot of your magic. If you're working spells, if you're making incense, it's a good solid base. And you have a great shelf here that you can put on the special bits. Here I've given you, as a gift, a god and goddess figure. It's always really nice to have some kind of representation of the male and female deity. After all, we're working with gods and goddesses, so just a generic form would be really, really nice. And we have a classic horned god here and a classic serene goddess, just to start you off. I would have the goddess to the left and the god to the right. Left is feminine and intuition, and right is strength and passion, okay? Okay, altar candlesticks are always very good. Most of the time we're working of an evening, and these will just give you light, okay? They are consecrated, and we'll talk about that later, and made special, and they will go either side, one here, and if you want to put the other one up in the corner there. And then that's your basic needs for this part of your altar, which is going to be where these things are left all the time.
Okay.
The lower half of your altar is where you're going to be working and where the rest of our bits and pieces will be set up. There are many ways that you can set up your altar. Different traditions, Gardnerian, Alexandrian for instance, will have a particular and specific way in which they set their altar up. I'm a much more eclectic witch. How I work is intuitively. So I'm going to show you the way that I would set my altar up, bearing in mind that we have the female to the left and the male to the right for the reasons I illustrated earlier. The pentagram is always one of the most important pieces. This is what you'll be using to bless items, to consecrate tools, and do an awful lot of your magical work on. So for ease, I would put that always in the middle of your altar. The next thing we're going to place on the altar is your chalice. Now, can you tell me what the chalice represents and what side of the altar you would put it on?
It's feminine, therefore it would be on the left.
Absolutely right. Okay, and then after that we're going to have your wand.
Male, masculine on the right.
Absolutely. The other tool that you would also have on the right but you're wearing is your knife, your magical knife, okay? The other things that you can have on your altar, and we've just really got these from your kitchen, is 2 bowls. The bowls are very basic. You're going to have 1 bowl for your water and 1 bowl for your salt, and this will help you cast your circle. Water and salt together are purifying, and they will help to consecrate and keep your circle bound and safe.
Okay.
They usually will reside on your pentagram because that is where you'll be using them and blessing them. Now you can dress your altar with lots of things. Some people will put flowers on the altar for the particular season. So for instance, we're coming towards autumn equinox. So maybe when you're out walking, you can gather berries. You can gather bits and pieces in the hedgerow that remind you of this time of year. The other things you can have are depictions of all the elements. A beautiful stone like this, just something you found on the beach. Nothing special again of itself, but something that will remind you of maybe both water and earth being found on the beach. Okay? Some people will use crystals in their altars as well. Crystals are wonderful things for raising the vibrational energy of your magical work. You can keep a generic set of crystals on the altar that you can use just for their collective energy, or if you're drawn to a certain crystal, for instance, something like obsidian is very, very good for protective magic. Also, black tourmaline is very good for protective magic, but you could have something as easy and as beautiful as clear quartz, which will lend itself to practically anything. And of course, as you collect your bits and pieces, you may be drawn to crystal balls, to scrying mirrors, all of this kind of thing you will keep on your altar. But it's a good idea to have a lot of space and a solid working space for when you're making incenses, when you're spell casting, for all the things you will need to make. This, if you like, is your kitchen table. This is where all the action happens. It'd be quite nice to bring some of these down to this level because your altar is quite bare at the moment and you have plenty of space here to work with. And it just makes life a little bit easier if you can kind of get hold of most of them as you need them. We've moved everything down to your main altar space, mainly because you don't have that much at the moment, you're just starting, so you have plenty of space to work. But it also gives an overall effect, that one that you're happy with. And the altar is something you should be proud of and something you should tend and look after on a regular basis because it is your sacred space.